Hello friend, welcome to Anantagyana. The conception of the universe. Multiverse. The idea of a physical multiverse or multiple universes came later to physics than it did to religion and philosophy. The Hindu religion has ancient concepts that are similar. It is the first and only religion with this idea. The term itself was, apparently, first applied by a psychologist, rather than a physicist. Concepts of a multiverse are evident in the cyclical infinite worlds of ancient Hindu cosmology since ancient times. In this viewpoint, our world is one of an infinite number of distinct worlds, each governed by its own gods on their own cycles of creation and destruction. Hinduism is the first religion to have formed a cyclic theory of time. That is, time runs in cycles. The four yugas, eons, Krutha, Treta, Dwapara and Kali repeat themselves without end. Vedas say that before the creation of the universe, Lord Vishnu is sleeping in the ocean of all causes. His bed is a giant serpent with thousands of cobra-like hoods. While Vishnu is asleep, a lotus sprouts of his navel. Note that navel is symbolized as the root of creation. Inside this lotus, Brahma resides. Brahma represents the universe which we all live in, and it is this Brahma who creates life forms. Vishnu is the personification of the eternal multiverse that exists forever without any beginning or end. Brahma is the personification of our temporary physical universe that was created in the Big Bang. Brahma is said to have been created from the navel, which is a single point of Vishnu, described as a lotus blooming out of the navel, much like our Big Bang universe. One of the most enduring images in the Vedic scriptures is that of Lord Brahma sitting on a lotus, the stem of which goes down to the navel of Garbhodakasa Vayu, who is also praised as Hiranyagarbha. The 14 planetary systems in Vedic cosmology are described to reside inside the stem of this lotus, which is kind of perplexing because the universe is three-dimensional and described as a sphere, but the lotus stem is one-dimensional. How can we squeeze 3 dimensions into 1 dimension? This post discusses this question, and shows how the 3 dimensions are reduced to 1 dimension by twisting the single dimension using a process like the curved flow of Kundalini. The post discusses parallels between the body and the universe, the process of primary and secondary creations, and how these are connected to Sankhya as well as the forms of Lord Vayu who are controllers. In the material universe. 1. The story of Yashoda and the multiverse vision, the Bhagavatam, in which it is told that Yashoda saw the whole universe in Lord Krishna's mouth, is essentially a text written to extol the qualities of Lord Krishna. Or is it? Does it show that there was another universe, many more that she saw apart from the one in which she lived? Let us rear the story first. One day, while playing in the fields, little Krishna secretly ate mud. His friends went and told Yashoda about this. When Krishna returned home, Yashoda caught Krishna by his ears and scolded him for putting dirt in his mouth. Krishna promptly replied that he had a fight with his friends in the morning and to take revenge they were all lying and that Yashoda shouldn't believe them. He said that she was being unfair, as she believed them instead of believing her son. Yashoda knew her son too well. She ordered, "If you have not taken any mud, then open your mouth. I shall see for myself." Krishna obediently opened his mouth. But when Yashoda peered into his mouth, she was wonderstruck. She saw the entire universe, the mountains, the oceans, the planets, air, fire, moon and the stars in his small mouth. Yashoda was stunned and began to wonder whether she were dreaming or actually seeing something extraordinary. She fell on the ground, unconscious. One school of Buddhism is the Huayan, also known as the flower garland school. The idea is that the flower garland, which represents all of reality, is made up of universes which all reflect one another. Others have likened the multiverse to Indra's net, a string of pearls in multiple dimensions. This infinitely large net has a jewel at each vertex, which each reflects on another. The Rigveda presents many theories of cosmology. For example, Hiranyagarbha Sukta, its hymn 10.121, states a golden child was born in the universe and was the Lord, established earth and heaven, then asked, "But who is the God to whom we shall offer the sacrificial prayers?" Devi Sukta, Its hymn 10.125 states a goddess is all, the creator, the created universe, the feeder and the lover of the universe. Nasadiya Sukta, its hymn 10.129, asks who created the universe, does anyone really know, and whether it can ever be known. According to Henry White Wallace in the Cosmology of the Rigveda, an essay published in 1887 says that the Rigveda and other Vedic texts are full of alternative cosmological theories and curiosity questions. For example, the hymn 1.24 of the Rigveda asks, "These stars, which are set on high, and appear at night, whither do they go in the daytime?" And hymn 10.88 wonders, "How many fires are there? How many suns? How many dawns? How many waters?" I am not posing an awkward question for you fathers. I ask you, poets, only to find out. To its numerous open-ended questions, the Vedic texts present a diversity of thought, in verses imbued with symbols and allegory, where in some cases forces and agencies are clothed with a distinct personality, while in other cases as nature with or without anthropomorphic activities such as forms of mythical sacrifices. The Rigveda contains the Nasadiya Sukta hymn, which does not offer a cosmological theory, but asks cosmological questions about the nature of universe and how it began. Darkness there was at first, by darkness hidden. Without distinctive marks, this all was water. That which, becoming, by the void was covered. That one by force of heat came into being. Who really knows? Who will here proclaim it? Whence was it produced? Whence is this creation? Gods came afterwards, with the creation of this universe. Who then knows whence it has arisen? Whether gods were created it, or whether he was mute. Perhaps it formed itself, or perhaps it did not. Only he who is its overseer in highest heaven knows. Only he knows, or perhaps he does not know. Rigveda 10:129-6. The concept of multiverses is mentioned many times in Hindu Puranic literature, such as in the Bhagavata Purana. Every universe is covered by 7 layers: earth, water, fire, air, sky, the total energy and false ego, each 10 times greater than the previous one. There are innumerable universes besides this one, and although they are unlimitedly large, they move about like atoms in you. Therefore you are called limitless. Bhagavata Purana, June 16, 37. According to the Hindu text Srimad Bhagavatam, there are innumerable universes besides this one. This concept of multiple universes is well known to Hindus familiar with the scriptures. But modern physicists have also been pondering whether our universe is all that we have or if there are many universes out there. Throughout much of modern history, our scientific understanding of the universe has been limited by what we could see. As our telescopes have grown more powerful, the size of the universe has increased as well. However, we can only see so far, leaving many scientists to wonder what the universe is like beyond the far limits of our technology. Some scientists even postulate that there may be not just one universe, but many, what's known as a multiverse. Max Tegmark, a physicist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, has proposed 4 types of universes. 1. Level 1 multiverse, the extension of our universe or quilted universe. The universe that we actually can see is limited by the strength of our modern telescopes. Few physicists believe the universe ends right at this point, although it's impossible to know what exists beyond the range of our telescopes. The first type of multiverse suggests that our universe simply keeps on going, all the way to infinity. If this were true, then an infinite number of possibilities exist out there, such as an infinite number of Earths or Milky Way galaxies. And just as we are limited by our telescopes, other universes would also be isolated by their own. In the quilted multiverse, the universe's infinite extension in space leads to worlds necessarily repeating themselves, like the endless library in the Borges story, which contains not only every conceivable book but a multitude of imperfect facsimiles, works which differ only in a letter or a comma. Level 2 multiverse, pocket universes. The second type of multiverse is similar to the first, but it suggests that as the universe expanded, pocket universes were cut off from each other. Unlike the first type of multiverse, where the laws of physics are the same everywhere, in this type they may vary radically among the different pocket universes. This can be tied to string theory, which has many possible solutions. Each one of these may correspond to a separate universe. This leads to the thought that humans only exist because our universe happens to be ideally suited for life. For example, if another pocket universe did not have gravity, then life might never have started, leaving that universe sterile. Level 3 Multiverse, Many Worlds. Like the first type of multiverse, the third supposes that the laws of physics are consistent across all universes. In this case, though, new daughter universes appear at each moment in time, leading to all possible futures existing somewhere. Take the case of the Schrödinger's cat paradox, which supposes that until the box is opened, the cat exists in two states, dead and alive. According to the many worlds multiverse, separate universes exist for each of those states, or wave functions. Of course, an observer in each of those universes would be aware of only one of those outcomes. Level 4 Multiverse, the mathematical multiverse. The last type of multiverse moves beyond comprehensible physics and into the realm of metaphysics. Tegmark proposes that each coherent system of mathematics may belong to some kind of physical reality, or separate universe. So a system that does not make sense in our universe might be perfect valid elsewhere. None of these multiverses has been verified experimentally, but this classification system gives physicists a good scaffolding on which to hang their future multiversal endeavors. Analogies to describe multiple universes also exist in the Puranic literature. 1. Because you are limitless, neither the lords of heaven nor even you, Vishnu, i.e. don't speak for all of us, yourself can ever reach the end of your glories. The countless universes, each enveloped in its shell, are compelled by the wheel of time to wander within you, like particles of dust blowing about in the sky. The Sritis, following their method of eliminating everything separate from the Supreme, become successful by revealing you as their final conclusion. Bhagavata Purana 10.87.41. 2. The layers or elements covering the universes are each 10 times thicker than the one before, and all the universes clustered together appear like atoms in a huge combination. Bhagavata Purana March 11.41. 3. And who will search through the wide infinities of space to count the universes side by side, each containing its Brahma, its Vishnu, its Shiva? Who can count the Indras in them all, those Indras side by side, who reign at once in all the innumerable worlds, those others who passed away before them, or even the Indras who succeed each other in any given line, ascending to godly kingship, one by one, and one by one, passing away, Brahma Vaivarta Purana. In the Mahabharata, Krishna responds to the warrior Arjuna's request by telling him that no man can bear his naked splendor, then goes right ahead and gives him the necessary upgrade, divine sight. What follows is one of the wildest, most truly psychedelic episodes in world literature. And no longer veiled by a human semblance, Krishna appears in his universal aspect, a boundless, roaring, all-containing cosmos with a billion eyes and mouths, bristling with heavenly weapons, and ablaze with the light of 1,000 suns. The sight is fearsome not only in its manifold strangeness but because its fire is a consuming one. The flames of thy mouths, a horrified Arjuna cries, devour all the worlds, how terrible thy splendors burn! Arjuna says, O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, as realized through your inexhaustible glories. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see here before me your actual position, I yet wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that universal self. The blessed Lord said, My dear Arjuna, behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine forms, multicolored like the sea. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adithyas, Rudras, and all the demigods. Behold the many things which no one has ever seen or heard before. Whatever you wish to see can be seen all at once in this body. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you may desire in the future. Everything is here completely. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore I give to you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence. Mahabharata 11. Welcome to the multiverse. 500 years ago, the Western mind considered itself the lordly possessor of a solid, unmoving world. It was as recent as the 1920s that Edwin Hubble found galaxies beyond our own, then realized they were racing away from us, some faster than the speed of light. A supposedly impossible feat that is allowed here, since it's not the galaxies that are moving but space that's expanding. And now, as the latest in an increasingly vertiginous series of perspectives, comes the chance that the universe is but one among many, a leaf in a cosmic wood. What is more, as Brian Greene notes in this progress report on what some are calling the golden age of cosmology, such ideas are not the fevered speculation of autistic savants, but emerge unbidden from the calculations of physicists. In the inflationary multiverse, universes randomly pop into being like holes in a hyperspatial elemental, then fly apart as the cheese itself. The technical term is inflation field, grows at an exponential rate. It is the stuff of delirium. The brain multiverse posits other, unseen universes hovering a whisker from our own. In the chapter on the simulated multiverse, Greene sees our universe as a virtual one programmed by an alien civilization. As he wryly puts it, evidence for artificial sentience and simulated worlds is grounds for rethinking the nature of your own reality. The mother of them all is what Greene calls the ultimate multiverse, which states that any world that can be mathematically modeled, or even imagined, must perforce exist. We are back to Arjuna, a Gog in front of a reality that encompasses the visions from thy innumerable eyes, the words from thy innumerable mouths. It is a joyfully bewildering concept that flags up the impossibility of the endeavor. Surely trying to define all that exists is like trying to box the wind or weigh a dream. What seems certain, as Greene writes, is that what we've thought to be the universe is only one component of a far grander, perhaps far stranger, and mostly hidden, reality. And what a delicious irony it is that science, that model of sober investigation, is inexorably returning us to vistas so peculiarly like the deranged imaginings of our superstitious past. According to Carl Sagan, the Hindu religion is the only one of the world's great faiths dedicated to the idea that the cosmos itself undergoes an immense, indeed an infinite, number of deaths and rebirths. It is the only religion in which time scales correspond to those of modern scientific cosmology. Its cycles run from our ordinary day and night to a day and night of Brahma, 8.64 billion years long, longer than the age of the Earth or the Sun and about half the time since the Big Bang. The multiverse, and universes within universes. The idea of the bubble universes forming out of the foam of the multiverse can also be envisioned as universes within universes. This image is common in Eastern thought. For example, the concept is visualized in Buddhist architecture. The Chaoyang North Pagoda, also constructed by the Huayan School, has 13 stories. On the base of the pagoda are two small reliefs of itself. These two reliefs have imagined smaller reliefs of itself, and so on, seemingly forever. This reflects the Buddhist cosmology of the multiverse containing universes within universes. This universe within universe idea also crops up in Hinduism. The Bhagavata Purana contains a story of Lord Krishna's youth, about being accused of eating dirt. Since childhood, I've obsessed about existence. What is existence? What's the extent of existence? What's the purpose of existence? Now, 6 decades on, having explored many things, I'm no surer and feeling no smarter, but I continue my pursuit. What's the largest, surest fact about existence that I can know with confidence? For me, it's the vastness of the cosmos. The universe is huge, but it is only with recent discoveries that we can realize how inconceivably immense the universe, or multiple universes, may actually be. It's now one of humanity's ultimate questions, and until relatively recently, we didn't know enough to even ask it. How many universes exist? Robert Lawrence Kuhn is the creator, writer, and host of Closer to Truth, a public television series and online resource that features the world's leading thinkers exploring humanity's deepest questions. Chapter 4. Plato's Cosmology, the Timaeus. The Forms versus the Cosmos. The World of Forms. 1. The world of being. Everything in this world always is, has no becoming, and does not change. 28a. 2. It is apprehended by the understanding, not by the senses. The physical world equals the cosmos. 1. The world of becoming. Everything in this world comes to be and passes away, but never really is. 28a. 2. It is grasped by opinion and sense perception. 3. The cosmos itself came into being, created using as its model the world of forms. The demiurge, creator. Literally, craftsman. The creator of Plato's physical world is not a divine intelligence or a personal ruler, but, as it were, a manual laborer. Cf. Vlastos, Plato's Universe, pages 26 to 27. That the supreme god of Plato's cosmos should wear the mask of a manual worker is a triumph of the philosophical imagination over ingrained social prejudice. But this divine mechanic is not a drudge. He is an artist, or, more precisely, what an artist would have to be in Plato's conception of art, not the inventor of new form, but the imposer of pre-existing form on as yet formless material. The elements. The physical world must have bodily form. It must be visible and tangible. 31b. Hence, its ingredients must include fire and earth. Since fire and earth will have to be combined, there must be at least one other ingredient that serves to combine them. But since fire and earth are solids, we require two intermediates to combine them. Hence, the demiurge created air and water, and arranged all four elements proportionally. As fire is to air, air is to water. As air is to water, water is to earth. As we will see below, we have not reached the bottom with these four elements. There are geometrical atoms of which these elements are composed. Features of the cosmos. A living being. Because it is based on the form of living being, equals animal. Unique. Because it is based on a unique model, the form of living being, and the demiurge makes it as much like its model as he can, subject, of course, to the limitations imposed by the fact that it's made of matter. It has a soul. Because it is a living being. Spherical. Because that is the most perfect and most beautiful shape. Temporal. That is, there is time in the cosmos. It is characterized by temporal predicates. This is because it is modeled on a form, an eternal being. The cosmos cannot be eternal, as a form is, since it comes into being. But it is as much like a form, as close to being eternal, as it can be. 37d. When the demiurge created the universe, he also created time. But what is Plato's definition of time? Plato's text at 37d reads, "The demiurge began to think of making a moving image of eternity. At the same time as he brought order to the universe, he would make an eternal image, moving according to number, of eternity remaining in unity. This, of course, is what we call time. But what is this? It is sometimes thought that it refers to number, which would make the definition be that time is the number according to which the image of eternity moves. This would bring Plato's definition close to Aristotle's. Time is the number of motion, change, in respect of before and after. Physics 219b2. On this reading, it is the cosmos that is the moving image of eternity, and time is the number that measures the change in the cosmos. But this has been traditionally taken to refer to image, and on this reading, Plato's definition is that time is a moving image of eternity. Even if Plato's text is grammatically ambiguous, the most plausible way to understand the definition is the traditional one. Other passages in the Timaeus make it clear that Plato thought of time as a kind of celestial clockwork, that is, a certain kind of motion, rather than a measure of motion. Consider 38d and 39d. The demiurge brought into being the sun, the moon, and 5 other stars for the beginning of time. These are called wanderers, planeta, and they stand guard over the numbers of time. And so people are all but ignorant of the fact that time really is the wanderings of these bodies. Plato clearly says that time is the wanderings of these bodies, their movement, and not a kind of number that measures such movement. Abstracting time from motion was an innovation of Aristotle's. For Plato, time just is celestial motion. Note that time applies, strictly speaking, only to the realm of becoming. About the forms, which are everlasting, we say, is and was and will be. But strictly speaking, only is appropriate. 38a. That is, this we use about the forms as a tenseless is. The forms themselves are, strictly speaking, outside of time. The heavenly bodies. Plato's account includes the origin of the stars and planets. To set limits to and stand guard over the numbers of time. 38c, which we will skip over here. Human beings, souls, bodies, and their parts. 4 kinds of living creature, 39e 40b. 1. Heavenly gods. 2. Winged things. 3. Water creatures. 4. Land creatures. Human soul, 40d 44d. 1. Creation and destruction of the gods, 40d 41a. 2. Demiurge instructs gods to make mortals, 41 AD. 3. Human souls manufactured. O made of leftovers from manufacture of world soul, but of a lower grade of purity, 41d. O each soul assigned to a star, 41e. O death, a just soul returns to its companion star, an unjust soul is reincarnated for a second try, 42 BC. Human body, 44d 47e. 1. Head and limbs, 44d 45b. 2. Eyes and vision, 45b 46a. 3. Purposes of seeing and hearing, 46c 47e. The structure of matter. At this point Plato ends his discussion of the works of intellect nous, and begins discussing the works of necessity. The difference seems to be that the former, but not the latter, directs its creation with an eye toward what is best. Here Plato turns to the old Presocratic question, what is the world made of? His answer both combines and transcends theirs. It mentions the traditional earth, air, fire, and water of Empedocles, but goes beyond them, analyzing them in terms of mathematical objects, shades of the Pythagoreans, an empty space, the invention of the atomists. The 4 elements. The intrinsic nature of fire, water, air, and earth, 48b, and how they came into being. The receptacle. A new concept is introduced, in addition to the model, equals the forms, and the imitation of the model, equals the world of becoming. The receptacle of all becoming, 49a. The receptacle is that in which all becoming takes place. The fires that you see coming into being and being extinguished are just appearances, in the receptacle, of the fire itself, the form. At 52 BFF, Plato describes the receptacle as space, the coming to be of the elements. The 4 elements are the most excellent 4 bodies that can come into being. 53. But how do they come into being? What are they made of? Plato's answer is that they are all made of triangles, and constructed in such a way as to explain how the transmutation of elements is possible. Overview. Each kind of matter, earth, air, fire, water, is made up of particles, primary bodies. Each particle is a regular geometrical solid. There are 4 kinds of particles, 1 for each of the 4 kinds of matter. Each particle is composed of elementary right triangles. The particles are like the molecules of the theory, the triangles are its atoms. The argument that all bodies are ultimately composed of elementary right triangles is given at 53 CD. All bodies are 3-dimensional, have depth, and hence are bounded by surfaces. Every surface bounded by straight lines is divisible into triangles. Every triangle is divisible into right triangles. Every right triangle is either isosceles, with 2 45 degrees angles, or scalene. So all bodies can be constructed out of isosceles and scalene right triangles. The details. 1. The 2 atomic triangles. Plato notes, 54a1, that there is only one kind of isosceles right triangle, namely, the 45 degrees / 45 degrees / 90 degree triangle, whereas there are infinitely many kinds of scalene. But of these, he tells us, we posit one as the most excellent, 54a7-1, whose longer side squared is always triple its shorter side, 54b5-6. Plato describes the same scalene triangle, equivalently, as one whose hypotenuse is twice the length of its shorter side, 54d6-7. The angles of this triangle are thus 30 degrees / 60 degrees / 90 degree dot. I'll call the 30 degrees / 60 degrees / 90 degree triangles, triangles, and the 45°/45°/90° triangles. B triangles. A triangle, scaling, 30°/60°/90°. B triangle, isosceles, 45°/45°/90°. 2. Construction of faces, of particles out of the atomic triangles. O. Each face is either an equilateral triangle, T, or a square, S. O. Equilateral triangles, T's, are made of A triangles. O. Squares, S's, are made out of B triangles. O. Plato's description at 54e and 55b tells us that each T is made of 6 A's, and each S is made of 4 B's. See diagrams, RHP 640. But 57CD makes clear that he envisages other ways of constructing these faces out of primitive A's and B's. 3. Construction of solid particles out of the faces. The construction of the particles is described at 54D55C. The particles are identified with the 4 elements at 55D56B. Click on the names of the elements to see a diagram of a particle of that element. A. Fire. A particle of fire is a tetrahedron, 4-sided solid, made of 4 T's consisting of 24 A's altogether. B. Air. A particle of air is an octahedron, 8-sided solid, made of 8 T's consisting of 48 A's altogether. C. Water. A particle of water is an icosahedron, 20-sided solid, made of 20 T's consisting of 120 A's altogether. D. Earth. A particle of earth is a cube, 6-sided solid, made of 6 S's consisting of 24 B's altogether. Transformation of elements, described at 56C, 57C. Interelemental transformations are among fire, air, and water only. Earth cannot be transformed into any of the others, 54C, 56D. Transformations can be described at the level of equilateral triangles, that are the faces of the 3 solids. Since a fire molecule has 4 faces, 1F is made up of 4T, an air molecule 8, 1A is made up of 8T, and a water molecule 20, 1W is made up of 20T. Any of the following transformations, for example, are possible. Each transformation is represented by an equation on the left. Its geometrical basis is shown by the equation on the right. 1A equals 2F8T is equal to 2 times 4T. 1W equals 5F20T is equal to 5 times 4T. 2W equals 5A2 by 20T is equal to 5 times 8T. 1W equals 2A plus 1F20T equals 2 by 8T plus 4T. 1W equals 3F plus 1A20T equals 3 by 4T plus 8T. Larger and smaller particles. Since equilateral triangles can be constructed out of A's, and squares out of B's, in more than one way, it is possible to have molecules of each of the elements that have different numbers of atomic triangles, A's and B's. These might be considered isotopes of the basic molecules described by Plato, with each T made of 6 A's, and each S made of 4 B's. An equilateral triangle can also be constructed out of 2, or 8, or 18 A's, and so on, ad infinitum. A square can also be constructed out of 2, or 8, or 16 B's, and so on, ad infinitum. This means that one normal particle of Earth, 6s equals 24b, can be transformed into 2 of the smaller isotopes of Earth, 6s equals 12b. Similarly, for normal particles of water, containing 120 A's each, can combine to form one huge particle of one of the larger isotopes of water, 20 sides of 24 A's each, for 480 A's altogether. Final reflections. Comparison with predecessors. Plato's theory combines elements of the views of many of his predecessors. 1. Pythagoras. Like Pythagoras, he made the physical universe fundamentally mathematical. But whereas Pythagoras thought that everything was made of numbers, Plato made geometrical figures ultimately, triangles the atoms of his system. 2. Democritus. Plato, like Democritus, was an atomist. But whereas Democritean atoms were of all different shapes and sizes, Plato's came in just 2 varieties, isosceles and scaling. In this respect, Plato's theory was far more elegant than that of Democritus. As Vlastos comments, Plato's universe, pages 93-4. Compare Plato's theory with the best of its rivals, the Democritean. Their atoms come in infinitely many sizes and in every conceivable shape, the vast majority of them being irregular, a motley multitude, totally destitute of periodicity in their design, incapable of fitting any simple combinatorial formula. If we were satisfied that the choice between the unordered polymorphic infinity of Democritean atoms and the elegantly patterned order of Plato's polyhedra was incapable of empirical adjudication and could only be settled by asking how a divine, geometrically minded artificer would have made the choice, would we have hesitated about the answer? 3. Empedocles. Like Empedocles, Plato recognized that four elements earth, air, fire, and water underlay all physical changes. But unlike Empedocles, he found a common atomic ingredient underlying the elements. Hence, unlike Empedocles, he could explain the transformation of one element into another. Problems and responses. Plato's theory of matter faces some prima facie problems. We will consider two of them and suggest how Plato might have responded to them. 1. Problem. Plato's theory does not allow for transformation of earth into other elements. Since earth is made of different atoms, isosceles triangles, from the other elements, scalene triangles, this transformation is impossible, as Plato knew. So what happens when, e.g., wood burns? Is an earth, which is what, presumably, wood is mostly made of, converted into fire? Response. The transformation of one element into another is not an observed phenomenon, but a theoretical explanation of observations. Plato can account for this phenomenon by theorizing that it is the water and air components of wood that are converted into fire. The earth components remain unburned in the ashes that remain. 2. Problem. The transformation of elements seems to violate the principle of conservation of matter. The problem here is that the volumes of the polyhedra in Plato's equations don't add up correctly. E.g., consider the equation 1W equals 3F plus 1A. Which tells us that one water atom can be converted into 3 fire atoms and 1 air atom. There are 20 equilateral triangles, T, involved in this equation. The problem is that the volume of one water atom, i.e., one icosahedron, is much greater than the combined volumes of 3 fire atoms, 3 tetrahedra, and 1 air atom, 1 octohedron. If we let S be the length of a side of each equilateral triangle, T, that is the face of each of the polyhedra, we can calculate these volumes. Volume of 1W equals 2.1817S3. Aggregate volume of 3F plus 1A equals 0.8248S3. Response. Remember that matter is not a concept Plato is working with. Hence matter, as we understand it, is not what Plato needs to worry about conserving. In his view, a material object consists, ultimately, of the triangular atoms composing the polyhedral corpuscles of the 4 different elements. Contained within these polyhedra is empty space, the receptacle, as he called it. So it is not matter that Plato must conserve, but triangles. On his theory, when a corpuscle of water is broken down and converted into corpuscles of fire and air, all of the original triangles in the corpuscle of water are conserved, and the triangles combine to form the surfaces of the polyhedra. Hence it is not the total volume of his polyhedra, but their combined surface area that must be conserved. What remains constant in every transformation, as Vlastos, Plato's universe, page 90 says, is the aggregate surface area of the corpuscles. If you press him to say what happens to that portion of the matter within the icosahedron which cannot be enclosed within the equivalent surface area of smaller polyhedra, Plato would say that there is no such matter. After creation, matter exists only in the form of space encapsulated by polyhedra. What is not thus encapsulated is empty space, which becomes matter when captured by envelopes of the approved stereometric form. If you interest know about Hinduism, like, share, subscribe our channel.